What Aliyah Boston said after dominating without Caitlin Clark had the entire WNBA shook, and when you hear what really went down in that locker room, you'll understand why this changes everything for Indiana's championship hopes. The Fever just pulled off something that shouldn't have been possible, beating a team that owned them all season while missing half their roster. But the real story isn't just about the win, it's about what Boston revealed that has other teams scrambling to adjust their game plans. If you're riding with the Fever this season, smash that like button right now, because what I'm about to expose will have you looking at this team completely differently. Picture this scene: 4 guards out injured, including Caitlin Clark, the team's biggest star, sitting in street clothes on the bench, and Indiana walking into Los Angeles to face a team that had beaten them 3 straight times. Vegas had already written them off. The experts called it a scheduled loss. But Aliyah Boston had other plans, and what she did next would send shockwaves through the entire league. 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 steals later, she wasn't just filling stat sheets, she was sending a message that every contender needed to hear. The post-game interview is where things got really interesting though. Boston looked straight into the camera and dropped this bomb about their coach's philosophy. She said the entire team operates on pure confidence now, that every single player has the green light to take any shot they want because the trust runs that deep. But here's what she didn't say out loud that everyone in that arena understood. This wasn't just coach speak or empty motivation. This was a direct shot at every team that thought Indiana would crumble without their superstar point guard. What happened next in that fourth quarter would have sports psychologists studying film for years. With the game on the line and no Caitlin Clark to lean on, something shifted in that Indiana huddle. The energy changed, the body language transformed, and suddenly a 31-year-old veteran that nobody was talking about became the most dangerous player on the floor. Odyssey Sims, who most fans probably forgot was even on the roster, started cooking her former team like she had something personal to prove. 21 points, including the game-winning floater with 13 seconds left. But that's not even the wildest part. The shocking truth is that Sims used to wear that Los Angeles jersey, and sources close to the situation say she circled this game months ago. She wanted this matchup bad, and when the opportunity came with Clark out, she seized it like her career depended on it. Every drive to the basket looked personal. Every pull-up jumper felt like payback, and that final shot that sealed the victory, pure poetry for a player most people had already written off as washed. But wait until you hear what Lexi Hull did that had the entire arena gasping. She showed up to this game with 2 black eyes, looking like she just went 12 rounds in a boxing match. The collision with Gabby Williams in the previous game left her face looking like a horror movie scene, but she suited up anyway. She ran through screens, dove for loose balls, and played defense like her life was on the line. The medical staff tried to keep her out, but Hull allegedly told them she'd rather pass out on the court than sit on the bench during a must-win game. The craziest part that nobody's talking about? Hull admitted after the game that she couldn't even see properly out of one eye. She was literally playing half blind, relying on instinct and muscle memory to navigate the court. When reporters asked her about it, she just smiled through the bruises and said the makeup artist did their best to cover it up. That's the kind of toughness that separates champions from pretenders, and every team watching that game took notice. What really exposed the league's miscalculation about Indiana happened in those final 2 minutes though. With no traditional point guard available, Christy Sides completely revolutionized their offensive system on the fly. She turned Aliyah Boston into a point center, running the offense through the high post like some kind of basketball chess master. Boston wasn't just scoring, she was facilitating, creating opportunities for teammates, and basically becoming the Fever's version of Nikola Jokic. The Sparks had zero answer for it because nobody prepares for a center to be your primary playmaker. The statistical anomaly that has analysts losing their minds? Indiana shot better from the field without Caitlin Clark than they had in their last 5 games with her. Let that sink in for a second. The team's biggest star, the rookie sensation who transformed the franchise, sits out and suddenly everyone else plays above their ceiling. Some are calling it addition by subtraction, but that's missing the bigger picture entirely. Here's what's really happening behind closed doors that the Fever don't want other teams to know. Sources inside the organization reveal that Christy Sides has been secretly preparing for this exact scenario for weeks. She knew injuries were piling up, knew Clark might need rest before playoffs, and had been running these alternative lineups in closed practices. The players thought they were just mixing things up for fun, but Sides was actually building a completely different identity for her team. A grittier, more defensive-minded squad that could win ugly when needed. The psychological warfare aspect is what makes this truly genius though. Every playoff team now has to prepare for two completely different versions of Indiana. The high-octane offensive machine with Clark running the show, or this defensive juggernaut that grinds out possessions and wins with effort. How do you scout that? How do you game plan for a team that can completely change its DNA depending on who's available? But the real bombshell that dropped after the game came from an unexpected source. Kelsey Mitchell, who struggled shooting just 5 for 14, revealed something that changes how we view this entire season. She admitted the team had been dealing with way more adversity than anyone knew. Not just the injuries we could see, but personal issues, family situations, and mental health battles that had been kept completely under wraps. Mitchell said this win proved they could overcome anything, and that statement carried weight nobody expected. The timing of this victory couldn't be more perfect either. With just 5 games left in the regular season, Indiana needed something to spark momentum heading into the playoffs. They got more than a spark, they got a full-blown inferno of confidence. The way they celebrated in that locker room, you'd think they just won the championship. Videos leaked showing players crying, hugging, and Boston leading chants that had everyone going crazy. What makes this even more shocking is what it means for the playoff race. Los Angeles came into this game just 2 games behind Indiana for that final playoff spot. This loss doesn't just hurt their record, it might have ended their season entirely. The Sparks needed this win desperately, and watching it slip away in their own building has to be devastating. Some players were seen arguing on the bench during timeouts, and the finger pointing has already started in their post-game interviews. The Sophie Cunningham situation adds another layer to this story that nobody saw coming. Even though she was injured and couldn't play, Cunningham was reportedly the loudest voice on that bench, coaching up teammates and getting in officials' ears all game long. Her energy from the sideline was so intense that she almost got a technical foul for stepping onto the court during a timeout. That's the kind of leadership that doesn't show up in box scores, but wins championships. Here's where things get really interesting for Indiana's future. This game proved they're not just a one-player team built around Caitlin Clark. They have depth, they have heart, and most importantly, they have multiple ways to beat you. Teams that make deep playoff runs always have that quality, the ability to win different styles of games. Pretty wins, ugly wins, defensive battles, shootouts, whatever it takes. The veteran presence of Odyssey Sims cannot be overstated either. At 31 years old in a league getting younger every season, she just proved that experience still matters when games get tight. Her composure in those final minutes was masterful. No panic, no forced shots, just pure basketball IQ taking over. Young players on that roster are learning lessons that will pay dividends for years. But let's talk about what Aliyah Boston's performance really means for her development. 6 steals for a center is absolutely insane. That's guard numbers, and it shows she's evolving into something special. The footwork, the anticipation, the hands, everything about her defensive game is reaching another level. When she grabbed that final rebound with 8 seconds left and got fouled, securing the win, you could see the killer instinct developing. The aftermath of this game has created chaos in the WNBA power rankings too. Analysts who had been writing off Indiana as a first-round playoff exit are suddenly reconsidering. If they can win like this without their best player, what happens when Clark returns refreshed and ready for the postseason? The potential ceiling for this team just got way higher, and other contenders are definitely taking notice. What nobody's discussing yet is how this affects Caitlin Clark's comeback timeline. Original reports suggested she might miss multiple games, but sources close to the situation hint that seeing her team battle like this has Clark pushing to return even sooner. She allegedly told teammates she's never been more proud and can't wait to get back out there with them. That kind of chemistry and mutual respect is what builds dynasties. The coaching masterclass from Christy Sides deserves its own recognition too. Making those adjustments on the fly, trusting role players in huge moments, and keeping everyone focused despite the adversity, that's championship level coaching. She's been criticized earlier this season for some questionable decisions, but this game might have silenced every single doubter. The bigger picture impact extends beyond just this season though. What Indiana proved is that they're building something sustainable, not just a flash in the pan team riding one superstar, but a legitimate program with depth and culture. Free agents watching this game saw a team that fights for each other, that doesn't quit when things get tough, and that's incredibly attractive for players choosing their next destination. If you think the Fever are about to shock the world in these playoffs, drop a comment below with your prediction for how far they'll go, because after what we just witnessed, anything feels possible. The league better be on notice, because Indiana just exposed a blueprint that could revolutionize how teams approach roster construction. Why load up on just stars when you can build a deep rotation of fighters who step up when needed? The Fever might have just changed the entire conversation about what it takes to win in today's WNBA, and that transformation started with one incredible night in Los Angeles where everything that could have gone wrong somehow went perfectly right.